Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Hare Krishna. The most important aspect behind book distribution is why we're distributing books. Because if you have a strong purpose, then you'll figure out a way to do it. It's a matter of the very strong desire to do it that enlightens us in the means and techniques to distribute books. And Prabhupada said as much when we asked him, when I say we, our party leaders, I was part of a book distribution party in the 1970s, and we were charged with going to various temples to train devotees how to distribute books. And in 1975, there was a difference of opinion about how to train the devotees and what techniques to use. So a couple of our party leaders went to meet with Srila Prabhupada in his room in Vrindavan and asked him. And he said, teach them to be sincere. Because he said, if they are sincere, and then he went like this, the master within the heart will teach them how to do it. He said, every devotee has their own genius. And when they're sincere and they have a strong desire, then Krishna will teach them how. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita, for those who are serving me with love, I give the intelligence how they can come to me. So I want to give some background on the book. Why is it important to distribute books? Because sometimes people feel that, well, maybe books are obsolete, or maybe there's some other way in which to preach Krishna consciousness that's more powerful. But let's take a look for just a moment at the importance of books in general. First of all, according to research that's been done about the future of the book's not going away. And I should say the history of the book also. It's been around for hundreds of years. Of course, people have been writing things down since the beginning of time. And, well, at least Srila Vyasadeva wrote down the Vedas for posterity's sake. But in various cultures around the world, that we find that people have been writing on things like shells and walls and anywhere they could write so that the message could be passed on. The book just happens to be the most modern invention, or a modern invention that has really caught on because it's very practical. And publishers expect that books will be around for not only decades, some say forever. It's not going away. It's not becoming obsolete due to electronic media, because sometimes devotees ask this question, what about e-books? And all the data shows now that books are not declining, even though e-books are increasing. People still, for various reasons, prefer to read paper books. There's something aesthetically pleasing about reading from a book. It also has a particular aesthetic quality that it has a finite amount of ideas within one book, and you can preserve that and keep it around. Now, there are various reasons. This is an interesting fact I read while I was researching my own book. The smallest bookstore contains more ideas of worth than we have been presented in the entire history of television. Books are so compact and have such condensed knowledge that they are more valuable and have more information than many of the other media like television, which takes a lot of doing to find anything practical or valuable through television these days. So, may I have a book? Since I'm talking about them. Books are containers. Any spiritual book you have will be fine. This is a container. You have to think about what it actually is. Sometimes we take things for granted. In Vastu, the science from the Vedas, every object has an effect. Every object has its influence on the world. And spiritual objects have a spiritual influence. But beyond that, books in and of themselves are containers. That's what they are. And the books that we're distributing contain spiritual seeds. And they are idea seeds. In fact, ideas are what get implanted into people's hearts and minds because the living entities in this world are called tatastha. And tatastha means open to suggestion. What does tatastha mean? Yeah, there's all kinds of ideas floating around and people are open to those. Books transform the world. Anybody here ever heard of the book called The Origin of the Species by Charles Darwin? Does anybody have a copy at home? Anybody read it before? Has anybody ever heard of evolution? Yes. Yeah, we all heard of evolution, but I haven't found anybody yet that has a copy in their car or at home or reads it a little bit before they go to bed at night. But everyone's familiar with the theory of evolution because Charles Darwin painstakingly wrote down his theories in his book, and then it was distributed widely. And because of that, the idea seeds poured out in various places, and now practically in modern society, people accept this theory. It's all pervading, practically. Any show about anything that you tune into, you'll find eventually people talking about, well, you know, because we evolved from cavemen and, you know, we have these certain propensities and so forth. There's just this idea. Where did the ideas come from? Came from a book. Somebody thought about it, wrote it down. The book went around the world. The ideas spilled out. And because living entities are open to suggestion, they picked it up. And there you have it. And there are great implications to that, those ideas, the theory of evolution. It moves people in a very particular way. So the kinds of ideas that we spread are extremely important. Here's another one, the wealth of nations. Anybody heard of that? Well, you've heard of capitalism, and there are various ideas about supply and demand and everything like that. It's pretty common nowadays. People will defend capitalism over communism or socialism or so many different ideas people stand up for. They don't even know where they got the idea in the first place. But they came from books. They came from ideas that people wrote them down. They got in books. They went around the world. And the idea seeds spilled out. And people picked them up. They grew. They grew in people's minds and hearts because living entities are open to suggestion. Everyone's open to suggestion. Here's another one. Fidel Castro started a revolution. One little guy. And he got thrown in jail. He was in prison when he wrote this book, History Will Absolve Me. He smuggled out the pages through his wife. She had conjugal visits, so he wrote it down in lime juice because what he was writing was subversive. In lime juice, you know, you can't see it when you write it down, but when you take it, put it in the sun, it appears. The writing appears. So his wife, Mitra, would take these pages one after another. When she'd go out, they'd check her, it looked like blank pages, and she'd reconstitute them in the sun. Then they put together this book, History Will Absolve Me, and that was the foundation, according to historians, for the revolution in Cuba. Want to start a revolution? Yes. Write a book. Distribute a book. That's what starts it. The idea seeds spilled out. Common sense. This is the definitive cause of the American Revolution, this book. This book was written by Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine wrote down the book, wrote down his ideas, told people why they should rise up against the British and start their own country. And they did. they felt emboldened by reading this book, and that's what started the revolution, American Revolution, in the colonies, which now we're sitting in the United States of America. How'd that change take place? Because of a book. And because books are, and those containers contain, those idea seeds spill out, and they go here, there, and everywhere, and people pick them up and change because jivas are open to suggestion. Everyone's open to suggestion because they're little jivas. That's what they do. That's why at one point people began mechanizing printing. You'll see on the left-hand side scrolls written by hand. There's some scriptures written by hand. That takes a while, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a painstaking process. It takes a long time to produce books. But people began to see books are powerful. Books are containers. They hold seeds that change society. Let's change it faster. So Gutenberg was a Christian, and he came out with the first printing press. And the first thing that came off the printing press was the Bible. And it was therefore the first Bible that was printed on the printing press that Gutenberg invented was called the Gutenberg Bible. There's still a few around. And those Gutenberg Bibles, statistics are staggering how fast Christianity spread after the printing got the printing processes became more sophisticated. As more and more of these containers went out into society, more and more people took to Christianity by the thousands, tens of thousands, by the millions. Because these books are, and containers contain, and when jivas get those idea seeds, they pick them up, they grow in their hearts, and they change their minds because jivas are open to suggestion. That's why we print books in the first place. That's why everyone prints books, to influence people in various ways. So we're lucky because we actually have, in our particular window of time in history, the availability of millions of books. We don't have to print them by hand. In fact, the books are already written for us. They're already available. We have a channel through which we can get these containers full of idea seeds, the best idea seeds, that completely reject all religious ideas that are materially motivated and that propound the highest truth, which is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. Could you give somebody some seeds that would uproot the threefold miseries? Here, have a handful of seeds. What will these seeds do? They'll uproot the threefold miseries in your life. Would you like them? Let me plant them right away. They may or may not know, but when the container goes in their hand, the container goes in their house, the container ends up somewhere in their life, the seeds will spill out, and those seeds will uproot the threefold miseries. That's what we're distributing. So we're part of a sampradaya, and a sampradaya means a gift-giving line, a line that gives the greatest gifts. Sampradaya means to give, to bequeath, to pass on something that's very valuable. And that's what we're doing. We're giving. We're just little givers. And we go out to give the best seeds that will change people's hearts, their lives, it will change society, will change the world. Sampradaya means... Sampradaya means? Sampradaya means? What are we doing? Giving. Preaching means? Sampradaya means? Books are? They're containers. What do they have inside? Idea seeds. And why does it work? Because jivas are open to suggestion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed on the Sri Brahma Samhita. He had it copied by hand. But what a painstaking process to have a book copied by hand. He went to great lengths to make sure that it got in the hands of all his devotees. Guess what? We have the Brahma Samhita because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Had he not copied it, had he not passed it on, would we have it? No. But through the different phases of history, coming down 500 years, we have this original Brahma Samhita because he took the trouble to pass it on. When you pass this on to people, it will carry on through the generations. The more we distribute books, the more these seeds will spread out into society. And you'll see 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years, 5,000 years from now, the fruits will appear all over the world because of this, even in 10 minutes from now. Krishna Karnamrita is another book that he took great care to pass on to his disciples. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was involved in the book distribution process. And we see that it begins at creation. Lord Krishna passes on the transcendental sound to Lord Brahma. You see the flute sound is going into Brahma's ears. That's called the bija, the seed. And that seed sound, it grows into something. That's why we chant the Gayatri Mantra. You see, when Krishna plays his flute, that's the sound of the Gayatri. That's not the sound of the Gayatri, that's Brahman. That's the Brahma Jyoti. Don't be attracted, turn away. This flute sound enters into the ear of Brahma and initiates him. He's initiated by that sound coming from the spiritual world. How attractive is that? That same sound is contained within the books. It's written down. The sound is written down. It's codified. That's what writing is. It's language written down so that it can be reconstituted into people's lives. So Brahma got it. Brahma passed it on to Narada, Narada to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva, look how thoughtful he is there. He's writing it all down. And why is he writing it all down? For us. And not just for us to distribute, for us to read. And for us to read and then distribute. The idea of writing something down means you're putting it in a container, because books are? Containers. And they contain? Ideas. And then when you distribute them to society, they sprout and grow, and people's lives change because little jivas are open to suggestion. That's why Srila Vyasadeva wrote it down. Anartha pasanam sakshad bhakti yogam and hoksaje lokasya ajanato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. Srila Vyasadeva knew that people were ignorant about the process of devotional service. How could they know unless somebody distributed it to them? And so he took the initiative. That's what great acharyas do. They take the initiative to make sure that the spiritual seeds get implanted in society because they feel compassion for people who are in ignorance. And that's exactly what Srila Vyasadeva did. And when you go out to distribute books, or you stay in to distribute books, or you in any way connect to the book distribution process, you are a representative of Srila Vyasadeva. Make no mistake about it, you are directly connected to the Sampradaya by this process of reading and distributing the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad-gita. This is the very purpose of creation. The reason that this material world exists, ultimately, besides giving the facility for living entities to be whimsical and go nuts, it's to give them the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. And that's exactly what Krishna wants. And when you distribute books, you're making that process available to the suffering living entities. Yes or yes? Yes. So Srila Vyasadeva, and we see Srila Madhvacharya. All these pictures you'll notice in Srila Madhvacharya's hands. Do you notice what he's holding? He's got the book. Of course, it was written by hand back then. By the way, did you notice anything interesting, funny about the picture of Brahmaji? If you look carefully in the picture of Brahma, once we emerge from the Brahma Jyoti, I have to go back through the Brahma Jyoti to get... Now this is kind of funny because Brahma, look at Brahma, the picture of Brahma there, what's he holding in his hand there? Just like this, right? Brahma's holding a book because we are actually known as the Sampradaya of the book. What are we known as? That's why Brahma, in all authorized pictures of Brahma, you'll notice that he's holding a book. That represents our family business, which is from the beginning of creation to distribute transcendental knowledge in any way possible, any means possible. And it just happens that all the great acharyas in our line, and you can note it, look at Vyasadeva, what's he doing? He's writing down a book. What's Madhvacharya doing? He's holding a book. He's got books to distribute. Every great acharya. Then we have Rupa Goswami. His main occupation was writing books. We have Sanatan Goswami writing books. By the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, codify everything. Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipuno Saddharma Samstapako. Establish a path so that living entities everywhere can follow it and go back to Godhead easily. It's in the books. It's available through that process. One can follow the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by following the teachings of the Goswamis. And the Goswamis went out of their way to codify Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings so that people in Silicon Valley in this particular age could follow it. They knew 500 years ago the power of books. That if we write it down, 500 years later, there would be an Upadeshamrita. There would be a book that would go out to people in various places. They could read it at home, they could read it on the airplane and so forth. And they could follow the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even 500 years later. So the Goswamis' main occupation was writing and putting those idea seeds into these containers, because books are containers. And when we distribute them, the idea seeds within get distributed out to society and go into people's hearts, and people's lives change because living entities are open to suggestion. Now, if they get lousy and ill-informed suggestions, what will they do? They'll act in crazy ways. They'll take advantage of that. And that's just why Narada Muni told Srila Vyasadeva, write about Krishna specifically so that those seeds will go into people's hearts. Here's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. What has he got on his left-hand side? Books. That is correct. Those are books. Those are containers. And he wrote down in over 100 books. Now here's another book that just showed up. Look at that. Directly from the spiritual world. It's a deliverable. Have you ever heard of this word? It's kind of a modern word. What kind of deliverables you got? Do you all use that in your corporate talk? Deliverables? This is a deliverable. See, Malini was able, by her inspiration, she went to the other room, she walked back in here, she delivered a whole pack of seeds here. This was written by Rupa Goswami and made available to us through one of the modern great saints and acharyas named Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, who was a faithful follower of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who rendered this writing, written over 500 years ago, with specific information about the spiritual world, and he put it in a container. And Malini was able to bring all of that from that room into this room, and I'm able to actually hold it in my hand. What could I do with this? I could create some major damage in Silicon Valley. These seeds could be distributed throughout Silicon Valley because books are? Containers. And containers hold? Yes. And when those idea seeds go out into society, it changes people's lives because living entities are open to suggestion. That's why people write books in the first place. These books are the most valuable product on the planet. There is nothing more valuable than the spiritual books coming down through our line. Here's the greatest scholar that one could ever come in contact with in the modern world or the ancient world. The greatest acharya, the greatest scholar, thinker, pure devotee of the Lord. And what's behind him, by the way? Books. His books. He wrote hundreds of books. And not only that, he advocated the distribution of books over everything. In fact, he said when he saw his flagship temple was being built in Calcutta, beautiful marble temple, one of his disciples had a lot of money, and he said, I'll give all my money and my whole life to build you a temple. That's well and good. But once the temple was being built, the devotees in the mutt started fighting over who got which room. They started getting a sense of proprietorship. This is my place. I was here first. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, better we take the marble from the temple, sell it, and print some books, and distribute them widely. And he emphasized printing books over building big opulent temples. Although temples are necessary, all the kinds of work that we do to maintain a community is necessary because we have to manage the results of our distribution of knowledge. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur passed on this same mood to his disciples. And Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada asked his guru, what should I do? What kind of service you want me to do? And in Radhakund, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told him, if you ever get money, print books. Print books and distribute. He said, there's going to be a fire in this mutt after I leave, and the best thing to do is dedicate your life to printing and distributing books. That's why Prabhupada said, when I came to America, I didn't try to start temples. I just brought my books and tried to distribute them. In due course of time, when people came forward and gave money, he built temples. But his main focus was on teaching from his books, then getting books printed. In fact, the first property that ISKCON owned in the world was specifically for the purpose of enshrining a printing press. That's why he wanted the property. And in Boston, on Beacon Street, the devotees were able to buy a property, even though there was very little money in all of ISKCON. But they put together all their money and they were able to buy an old property on Beacon Street. They needed to reinforce the floor. Narayana Prabhu went there and put a big beam across the floor so that it would hold the heavy printing press that Prabhupada moved in there. And he had already put out, before he bought the printing press, about 8 of his disciples in New York City and said, you go apprentice and learn how to print books. So they went out and they worked in various places learning how to bind books, print books. And then when Prabhupada bought that property on Beacon Street and put in the printing press, he called them all there along with some artists and he said, now make books, get books printed. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he said on many occasions that by printing and distributing books, Krishna consciousness would be spread all over the world. He called it the Brihat Madanga, following the footsteps of his spiritual master. The kirtan that we play on drums and kartals can be heard for a few blocks. Of course, nowadays when people hold up their iPhone and say, hey, listen, Molly, listen to this. It gets broadcast a little further. But the book distribution, it goes far and wide. They go across oceans, they go past boundaries, they go into the White House, they go into prisons, they go everywhere where you can't take a kirtan. Therefore, it's called the greater Madanga. It's louder. You write the kirtan down, it's codified, it comes in idea seeds in these containers, and when they go out, the message spreads and penetrates society, and it changes the world. Therefore, he wrote all these books. He said, this is the perfect gift for the people of the world. There's no more perfect gift that you can give people other than these containers that hold seeds that come from the spiritual world. And when they grow in people's lives, people have access to the spiritual world. So, books are access to higher association. You actually get the association of the personalities within those books. Here's one person who happened to buy at Oracle from Shraddha Devi Dasi a full set of Sri Chaitanya Charitamritas. She may be posing there, I don't know, but she's definitely got that book open. And for whatever it's worth, she started reading that Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's somewhere in her life, and it's emanating these seeds. Something's happening there. She had no acquaintance with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Most people in the world don't. They don't know who he is. Even from India, people don't know. Who's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? We don't know. How are they going to find out? Chaitanya Charitamrita. All the knowledge is there. It's the most sublime literature in the world. It gives the nuance of the etiquette and the loving dealings between God and his devotees in the spiritual world. That information is not available anywhere else. The Bible tells in general terms about our relationship with the greatest, the Lord. The Quran gives some general information. There's very scanty information around the world about our relationship with God, but the Chaitanya Charitamrita tells it all. It tells everything about the various loving relationships the devotees have, how to develop them. It gives Sambandha Jnana, our relationship with the material world. It gives the Abhideya, the process how to do it, and it gives the Prayojana, the exact result that one gets. So look at this, 1975. I'm in this picture, actually. This is the opening of the temple in 1975. And one day when I was sitting in front of this Krishna Balaram Mandir a few years ago, and there are thousands of devotees pouring out of there with bead bags on, one of my godbrothers said, "Where are they all coming from?" And when I was thinking about his question, he said, "From Prabhupada's pen." They're all coming out of his pen as he's writing. And some years ago, when we had the great pleasure of having the Bush administration in America, and great luminaries like Dick Cheney and so forth, who emphasized weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which they never found, by the way. There was a lot of alarm in the world about weapons of mass destruction, but we actually are interested, but there are weapons of mass destruction. America has stockpiled so many nuclear weapons we could blow up the world about 1,000 times, more than that. The amount of weapons of mass destruction we have. And they're still building them for some reason. That's crazy. That's lunacy. But what we're doing is we're stockpiling weapons of mass instruction. Book distribution. Prabhupada said, "I have hatched this transcendental plot." The way he set up our ISKCON society was that by distributing books, we would realize money. It comes, you just sell a book, people are happy to give something in return, and half of that, he stipulated, would go to print more books, and the other half would go to build temples around the world. Anybody here been to the Krishna Balaram Mandir? How about Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir? How about Juhu, Bombay? All of those were built with money that came from book distribution. And dozens of other temples around the world were able to start in ISKCON because of loans from the BBT. All the money that started ISKCON and allowed it to grow to what it is today in such a short amount of time came from the distribution of books. So Prabhupada's idea was that our business in ISKCON would be books, reading books, distributing books, and by the sale of the books, we would be able to support all the projects around the world. Even today, over the last 10 years, the work that you've done, many have been distributing books for 10 years here. Every time you've distributed a book, the money has gone to help build this particular temple, the TOVP. We've given, just from the North American BBT over the last 10 years, over $3 million. $3 million has gone into that. So there's mention throughout the scripture about good work that you can do in this world. But the best work that you can do is to give other people Krishna consciousness and also do things like build temples. There's nothing better than that. And when you're going out, every time you distribute a book, you're doing all of that, all at the same time. There's no better work on the planet. It's much better than working at Wendy's or Home Depot, Intel. Pick any of them. You had to throw that in, didn't you? Okay. So reading these books will transform our lives. If we associate every day with these idea seeds, they will go into our minds, into our hearts, and we will become spiritually minded. Our hearts will be spiritually motivated just by taking in these spiritual seeds from the Goloka Vrindavan planet. They've descended from here. So we have to read and take it in. And we should also understand that the trouble we take to go out and distribute books is high sadhana. It's also high sadhana to go out to do Harinam Sankirtan. But you'll notice, please note this, and we have a hardcore press going on right now to develop our Harinam Sankirtan into something wonderful. It's already become something wonderful. We want to make it better and better and better. And at the same time, you notice that lots and lots of people can come out on Harinam Sankirtan and chant. It's a little bit outside the comfort zone, isn't it?
Yes.
So what if your boss sees you out there? What are you going to say? Or, I have to go outside my warm living room and stand out and chant. Of course, once you get there, you don't want to go home. But it's a little outside your comfort zone. But lots of people go on Harinam Sankirtan. But how many people go on book distribution? That's a little even further step into outside your comfort zone. There's lots of people, I'll do Harinam, but book distribution, I don't know. This taking the trouble to learn how to distribute books, to actually interject a book into somebody's life. They're going one direction, they have one philosophy in life, they have their own impetus, and we come and say, hey, excuse me, let me show you this. Because we know the living entities are open to suggestion, books are containers, and we interrupt the flow of their thought, of their lives. They're happily sitting at home watching football, and we knock on the door, and they open the door. Yes, how can I help you? And it's like, yeah, let me introduce this into your football watching activities today, this book from the spiritual world. And they say, oh, I don't have time for this. The Super Bowl's on right now. In fact, when the devotees went out during the Super Bowl, probably an ill-advised activity, especially when the 49ers were playing, they went locally, knocked on the door. People, why are you doing this now? Book distribution takes an extra step outside your comfort zone, and that's a good thing, because once you get into that zone and you learn how to live in that zone outside giving compassion to others through distributing these desire seeds, you'll find that your spiritual life, your consciousness is elevated by the process. It's for everybody. Kids are great at book distribution. And in every community, by introducing the history of book distribution, the instructions of our founder Acharya about book distribution, showing devotees how to distribute books and so on, we do the greatest favor to our whole congregation by showing them the legacy which is ours if we'll take it. As far as stress goes, I wonder if any of you have felt any stress over the last 10 years. Everyone laughs. It's sort of a common part of life nowadays. People almost assume that others are stressed. They know that they're stressed because of the pace of life. We get so absorbed in our own goings-on that we forget about the bigger scheme of life and so forth. So there's stress. But stress is not a completely unnatural thing. Prabhupada pointed out that Mother Yashoda accepts the position of Mother of Krishna just so that she can experience spiritual stress. He said, nobody knows this science except for the Vaishnavas. It's the highest kind of ecstasy when you get into positive stress, spiritual stress. So when we introduce book distribution to our communities in ISKCON, what we get is this positive stress. On one side, you get bored, apathetic, and underwhelmed. And you fall into the mode of ignorance if you don't have some positive engagement in devotional service. And how easy is it to fall into the mode of ignorance? As my father used to say, it's as easy as falling off a log. If you've ever walked on a log before, it's slippery, you can just easily fall off. So it's easy to fall into the mode of ignorance. And it's also another phenomenon, you can become anxious, burned out, and overwhelmed. So what we're looking for is positive stress. The positive stress comes from putting oneself on a strict schedule to read and chant every day without fail. And also to go outside one's comfort zone and distribute books and the holy name to people all over the world. And then in that zone, one actually makes advancement in spiritual life. Is everyone okay? Okay. So involve the congregation. That's what we're doing today, because as Nehru, you remember Nehru? You all remember Nehru from your country, right? No? Yes. Okay. He had this idea about starting technical schools. Did he not? How many of you here are involved in IT in one way or another? Raise your hand. Well, that didn't happen by chance, because Nehru thought if we start technical schools, teach about IT, then in the future, everybody will have this edge here in India. We'll corner the market on IT. So training and education, that's what he advocated. So we're also interested in cornering the market on distributing spiritual knowledge throughout the world. So the way to do that in any congregation, whoever's listening from various places around the world, you just have to do a little training and education about the importance of book distribution, the fact that these are containers, they hold spiritual seeds. It is the expressed desire of the Lord and his great acharyas that books be available to all the devotees and to people in general all over the world. And taking up that particular desire of the acharyas of Krishna and executing it means that one lives in this world of positive stress, and one is directly connected to the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So involve the congregation, because generally people come to Krishna consciousness and they're Kanishta Adhikaris. Kanishta Adhikaris means beginning level. Kanishta Adhikaris have particular symptoms. One of them is they tend to find fault, and they see differences, and they emphasize the differences of opinion, and they endlessly argue and criticize about the various little differences they see in the way people do things. Madhyama Adhikaris, the next higher level, they're preachers. And the Madhyama Adhikari tends to sit around all day and think about ways to spread Krishna consciousness. Think about ways to connect other people to Krishna consciousness. Think about ways to bolster their own Krishna consciousness. If you were a leader, as you all are, what would you prefer to have? A group of 100 people who sat around criticizing every little thing they saw and finding fault in others all day long? That's A. Or B, people who sat around all day and thought about how to spread Krishna consciousness and do good for others. That's B. Okay, let's vote. A, criticize all day long, find fault with others. B, think about how to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world out of great compassion. B, anybody at home if you're watching this program and you'd like to text in your vote for who you'd rather have in your congregation, people sitting around criticizing and finding fault with little details, or P, people thinking about how to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Please call in now and vote. There are prizes available. Okay, so involve the congregation, teach people, take people out and go on the monthly Sankirtan festival. At least once a month, everybody in the world should come together with their family, with their community, and they should go out and experience the happiness of and the exhilaration. Exhilarating, right, Abai? Yeah, it is. It's exhilarating to go out and not knowing what's going to happen. You walk out into the great unknown, just armed with these containers with spiritual seeds inside, looking for people. We got some votes coming in through the internet. Let's hear what we got here. A bunch of people criticizing all day long, or B, and not only that, taking to the internet to criticize, and B, people who think about how to spread Krishna consciousness to show compassion to others. Did we get some votes?
Yes, we did.
We got votes coming in from the internet. Let's hear what we've won.
We got the first votes for a B.
B?
Yes, from Jadu Thakur Das.
Jadu Thakur votes for B. Let's give him a hand. Thanks for texting in your vote, Jadu Thakur. Okay. So teamwork. We're interested in teamwork. Although there's always individual initiative, ultimately we're all one. We're all connected because we're all parts and parcels of Krishna, and we're all working for one common cause. Teamwork rocks. Teamwork is the best thing that was ever invented. Working together as a team, all for one and one for all. And working as a combined unit and trying to help one another move forward towards team goals is something that is very powerful. And we emphasize that in the establishment of book distribution. Cooperation, how to cooperate. Cooperation is a spiritual principle. It's cooperating for the higher good. And in this case, cooperating to complete the mission of the Lord, to continue the mission of the Lord, is transcendental, beneficial, and very wonderful. Goals are potent within the realm of book distribution, spreading Krishna consciousness. Setting goals is extremely powerful. If you have an individual goal, if we have group goals, it's the North Star. That's what that is, by the way. It's the constant that people look for when they're going across the ocean. They can follow that constellation and that star and know which direction they're going. So book distribution is so foundational to our movement, the distribution of knowledge. And not only that, it's so quantifiable. You can tell at the end of the year how well you did. And Prabhupada used to go to those temples that were doing the most in book distribution. He would judge, he said, how well all your programs are doing by how many books you're distributing. That was his mood. So we can do the same thing. We can actually set goals and then rise up to meet them. And in the process of rising up to meet those goals, we improve in all the areas of our community and in our lives. So set goals. It's like flipping a switch. Now, if you don't have a goal for book distribution in your life, in your community, in your temple, then you're not serious about book distribution. In fact, you're not in the game at all. You have to have a goal. And it has to be written, and it has to be expressed to the people in the community. Otherwise, you're not serious. Identify and cultivate leaders. This is a movement of empowerment. Any devotee who's sincere, who is alive and breathing and has a little desire to spread the Krishna consciousness movement can be empowered. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's methodology was to empower everybody. He said, each one of you become a guru. That's a heavy thing. Guru means heavy. It means become a teacher, become a center for Krishna consciousness in and of yourself, the way you live, the way you move about in society, the things that you do. Become a guru. So we're looking to cultivate leaders. We don't want some bureaucracy where a few people hold all the power. We want everyone to be empowered. And that's the culture of book distribution, that devotees should unto themselves become teachers of the science of Krishna consciousness. Learn the science, how to go out, how to give people the spiritual seeds, and then show them how to cultivate them in their own lives. It's a great responsibility, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, do this. And by doing that, by cultivating leaders, becoming a leader oneself, one rises to the spiritual platform. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitaitan brahma bhuya kalpate. By performing devotional service, and the best of devotional service is teaching others, Krishna says. Nothing pleases me more. There's no servant in this world more dear to me than that person who's spreading the message of Krishna consciousness to others. By doing that, one very quickly rises to the spiritual platform. That's what makes our movement special. Volunteerism spreads. When people pick up this mood of volunteering and they see others volunteering, and you encourage people in their services, more and more people come together. And that's what we are here at ISV, a bunch of volunteers. Everyone's volunteering to do this. They just need an environment in which their service is valued, in which they can do service that's individual, spontaneous, and voluntary. Individual, spontaneous, voluntary. That's what ISV stands for. Individual, spontaneous, and voluntary service. Book distribution. Prabhupada's the center of our movement. He's the founder Acharya. He always will be. And his teachings will remain foundational to everything we do. That's how he's our North Star. He's the one we keep on the Vyasa-san and whom we worship, whom we consult through his books. And that's how we navigate through this ocean of the material world. And by emphasizing reading Prabhupada's books every day, you have to read Prabhupada's books or you will fall down. You will fall down if you don't read Prabhupada's books every day. You have to read them, and you have to read all of them. You have to read the Bhagavad-gita, not just once, but many times. And you have to read the Bhagavatam, not just once, but many times. In a recent survey in Mayapur of leaders, asked, only a certain percentage of them responded, but of those, some of them have been in the movement 20, 30 years. Average amount of time they've read the Bhagavad Gita over that, 1.8 times. Not enough. You have to read all the time. You have to make this the focal point of your life. There's 24 hours in a day, last time I checked. And out of that, to take an hour a day to read from the Bhagavad Gita and the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. You can read 41 pages of the Bhagavatam a day if you take an hour out of your busy schedule, and you can finish the whole Bhagavatam in 1 year. And if you keep doing that over and over again, you'll prepare yourself for going back home, back to God. And not only that, you'll stay on the spiritual platform. And if you don't, when Prabhupada writes this in the Antya Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you will fall down. There's no doubt about it, you fall down. And we've seen great stalwart people who stop reading Prabhupada's books, stop chanting their rounds, and they fall down. So don't fall down. It's a regular principle to not fall down. You're not supposed to. So keep reading Prabhupada's books, and that keeps Prabhupada in the center. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, a practical matter, how to distribute a Bhagavad Gita in its own merit. You got to know how to distribute a book to have confidence how to do it, or to go out and do it. And I'm going to tell you a way in which to distribute a Bhagavad Gita or any other book that is infallible, and it'll work every single time. And once you know how to do this, you'll be fully confident to go out anywhere at any time and distribute to your heart's content. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm not convinced.
Yes.
Now I'm getting a little convinced. Okay. Sell the Bhagavad Gita in its own merit. Here's what you got to do. First, let me tell you, the hardest part of selling a book is asking for a donation. Am I right or am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing. Asking for a donation, I'm starting at the end because it's the hardest part. Everyone's thinking, I can distribute books, I'll just give them out. All right, go ahead, but you won't feel satisfied, and here's why you won't feel satisfied. These books are the most valuable items on the planet. There's a lot of stuff in this world that doesn't deserve to be sold. But this does. And there are several reasons why. First of all, when people give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it qualifies them to read it. Just from a psychological point of view, when somebody gives something in return for something, then they think, I better use it. In fact, they justify it all the time. They'll buy something that's not very nice, but then when people ask, oh, you bought that? It's like, oh, no, it's really good. Because they know they paid for it already and they're not getting their money back, so they might as well stand up for it. So when people give something in return for something, they become attached to it. They start to appreciate it. And Prabhupada used to say, we ask for a donation, we take a donation for these books, because then people walk away and they'll say, what has this nonsense person given me? Now I have to read it because I gave my hard-earned money, so I have to look at it now. And that's fact. They will do that. In fact, I wrote a story, a representative story in my book about a person named Andy who was handed a book and then ended up giving a donation, a little bit begrudgingly, but then he became a devotee. But the reason he read the book, he said, "Oh, all right, I gave my money, let me see what's here." It's a fact, that happens. Krishna in the Bhagavad-gita says that you shouldn't preach to people who are not devoted or austere. Am I correct? Those who've read the Bhagavad-gita more than 1.8 times? Anybody here read the Gita more than 1.8 times in their life? Okay. Try to beat that average, because that's the average among leaders who have been in the movement about 20 years or more. Try to read the Gita more than 1.8 times. You'll be ahead of the curve. Okay, so those of you who've actually read the Bhagavad-gita, it says that don't distribute this. Krishna says, don't teach this to people who aren't devoted or austere. Now, what do? We're going out and meeting all kinds of crazy people. Jivas, open to suggestion, part and parcel of Krishna, but they're crazy anyway. So, because they've been influenced by the material nature, that's what makes them crazy. So we're trying to give a little medicine, a little kindness. So, what if they're not devoted or austere? Well, when they give a donation, they do a little austerity. And you can tell, because every time you ask them, most of the time, unless they're really pious, they cringe just a little tiny bit. Or they start thinking, "Oh, I don't have any money." He said, "Oh, no, go ahead, just give some." "Oh, all right, there it is. Yeah, I forgot. It's right here." It's something that every little jiva wants to hold on to his money, because he's thinking, like, this will save me from death. And I'll somehow or other I'll be okay, because I got this money in my pocket or in the bank account. If you ask for some of it, they have to think twice, 3 times about handing it over. So it's a kind of devotion when people hand over their hard-earned money. They may or may not know that they're doing a devotion, but it's in fact what they are doing when they give in return for spiritual knowledge. And there are very nice ways of asking people to do that. And when they do it, it qualifies them to go more deeply within the knowledge that we're handing them. So here's the way that I've evolved in my presentation of distributing a Bhagavad Gita or any other book and asking for donation. I say, we don't sell it like in a bookstore. We just ask for a donation. And then when you drop that sentence, you know, it hits them, because now they realize, okay, I got to pay up. I have to give something now. Then I give them a little relief by saying, we don't need the money, which is a fact. The only reason I ask, the only reason we ask, is because when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to the previous teachers who have painstakingly passed it down over many generations, and it allows you to enter deeply within the knowledge. Should I say it again? Yes. We don't sell these like in a bookstore. We just ask for a donation. We don't need the money. Try this. We don't need the money. Put your hands up. We don't need the money. It's an ancient tradition. When you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to the previous spiritual teachers who have painstakingly passed down this knowledge over many generations. And it allows you to enter deeply within the knowledge. And when people hear that I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for you. It's a penance. In fact, sometimes I say that to people. It sounds shocking to say that to somebody, but it's a penance. You do some penance and you can actually appreciate the book. When I take that position, which is the real position, the real reason we're asking for donation, helps me keep my posture and keep aligned. And it also helps them understand my purpose very directly. And it's always, in my opinion, to be very direct about why we're asking for the donation. And it actually opens people's hearts to appreciate the motive behind why we're doing this. It's not like we're trying to make money. It's not a sales deal. It's nothing like that. It's part of the parampara. We're passing on a gift. But for you to qualify to actually appreciate the gift, if you give something in return, you'll be able to enter deeply within it. Now, what if somebody can't give any money? Well, if they give their attention, as money, giving the money draws their attention to the fact that this is important. That's why we're asking for the donation in the first place. But if they give their full attention, in other words, they like the idea of it, they like you, they want to read the book, but they just don't have anything to give right now, I consider that they gave their attention. They gave a few moments of their life to listen and appreciate what we have. Let them have it. Let them take it home. They gave something. That's enough. You have to be able to gauge that, what's enough. If someone doesn't appreciate it, if they don't want to give, they don't appreciate it at all, then best that we not pass it on to them because they won't appreciate it, and also it decreases our appreciation for the book, giving it to people who are not qualified. And that's what Krishna meant in the Bhagavad-gita. Don't teach this to people who aren't qualified, who don't want to listen, don't force it upon them, and so forth. Try to find an opening. And the book distribution, great art is this art of getting the commitment at the end and being able to judge who's qualified. So that's why I start at the end. Now the first part starts with presenting the book. And one thing I've noticed is oftentimes devotees make the mistake of getting overly proactive when they go out to distribute books, and they telegraph that I'm here to distribute, sell you something. So they're holding the book like this, or like this when they come up to people. And from a mile away, people can notice you because little jivas are smart. They're really smart. And they see you from 2 blocks away going like this, and they think, this guy's going to try to put this book in my hand, and they want something from me, and so forth. So they tend to close down. So I advocate that those who go out to distribute books, stand back a little bit. Don't hold the book right in your hand. Don't telegraph it. If you're going to hold a book, hold it in your arm, and lean back a little bit. Make them come to you. Don't go chasing after people. Now, before you actually hand a book over, and I do highly recommend this, I wrote about it in my book, Trust the Hand. Take time to put the book in people's hand. But first, make friends. Qualify them. Make some conscious connection with people, because that's what starts the whole interaction. So when I'm watching people come down the street or wherever they are, I first notice their eyes, because eyes are the window of the soul, and people know you're there, and if they don't look at you, it means I'm not open for business. It's like when you go to a store and the lights are off, and there's a sign on the outside that says closed. So that's what people mean when they keep their eyes closed or averted when they're walking past you. It means not open for business. Do you have to pry the door open? Do you have to make them turn on the lights? No, you don't have to. Look for the places that are open. Look for who's open for business. That's our job, is to select, not to convince every single person. So take a little weight off yourself and wait for the people who are open. And when you notice them, then you can make a conscious connection with them. If they notice you, you make eye contact. And here's one of the ways in which I make a conscious connection. It's using the power of mystical power, by the way, that everyone has, because you're conscious living entities. You're part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna has all mystic powers, and we have those powers in minute quantity. And I'll show you how to release them now with a special mantra. Are you ready? Yes. Hold up your right hand. Now, from the palm of your hand comes a spiritual beam that will touch people, and it'll bounce back to you, much like the people I was trying to avoid on my way here this morning, because I was driving a little faster than the speed limit, and I was looking out to make sure that none of the highway patrolmen were shooting me with a radar gun. Because when they do, that radar hits my car, and it bounces back to their machine, and it tells them exactly how fast I'm going. So you have the same thing right on your hand, a little radar gun, right? So if you point it at somebody, not at me, because I can't absorb all of this energy all at once. Point it at somebody. Hold up your hand. Point it at somebody. Now I'm going to give you the mantra that activates the beam that comes out, hits the person, and comes back to you, and it tells you everything you need to know about whether they're open for business. Are you ready?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
The delayed reaction, look around, everybody's smiling. Everybody's feeling something like, wow, some energy just bounced around the room, and it did, because you pointed your attention at somebody. You're powerful. You're a conscious living entity. You're part and parcel of Krishna. Your consciousness projects. It goes out into the world. And if you point it at one person, one other little jiva, it's going to hit them. And when it hits them, you'll notice what comes back. And if you hit somebody with your beam, you go, hi, and they go like this, what's the reading? They're closed down. They're not open for business. Do you have to chase them down the road? No. Do you have to grab them by the belt and say, hold on, buddy, you got to take this? No, you don't have to. You can let them go. They're all right. Just leave a friendly feeling with them that you're okay. You're fine. It was good to see you anyway. No problem. Let them go. If somebody looks at you and they smile back and they say, hi, what do you do then? Take the next step. Or if something in between, they acknowledge you, that you can start to gauge from using your radar how much people are open to you. And whether it's on the street or door to door, when you open the door and you say hi, then you can just notice, how is this person reacting? So that's the first thing, notice. Make a conscious connection when you see the people. Next thing is to ask a question. And remember that questions are the answer. Question is a hook. It actually pulls people in the right direction. It also is a tennis racket. It puts the ball back in their court. So whoever's asking the questions is leading the conversation. Don't tell, but ask. And so one of the things to ask people is a qualifying question, and that is a good question to ask is, where are you from? I announce where I'm from. I'm from San Francisco. Where are you from? And so when somebody answers that question, where are you from? Mountain View. That's fantastic. Where are you from? I love Saratoga. When I was in Japan just recently, I meet people, complete strangers on the street, living entities who happen to take birth in Japan. I happen to be from California, and I meet them on the street, and they say, are you from Japan? And they say, yeah, I'm from Japan. They say, I love Japan. I'm from California. And immediately have a relationship with them. That's as simple as it is. Just appreciate something about them and find out first something about them. And one of the things that people worship is the place where they were born. They worship the very dust of their home. In fact, Ross Perot, he was a political candidate some years ago. After he became a multi-billionaire, he went back to his family home and he had it restored brick by brick. Every brick had been painted on the outside, so he paid $1 million to have every brick turned around again so it would look like his original house. Because it's a worshipable place. So where are you from? Foster City. I love Foster City. That's like the Navadweep of the Bay Area. So if you appreciate something about where people are from, they'll immediately appreciate you. You have a relationship. So first of all, use your radar. Second of all, ask a qualifying question, like, where are you from? I'm from Foster City. Fantastic. Foster City, great. I was looking for somebody from Foster City. That's my whole reaction to where they're from. And say, here, I'll show you one too. Now you say the word show. And that's what we're doing. We're going out showing people these books, showing living entities, because every living entity is open to suggestion. So as soon as they tell me where I'm from, that qualifies them to get a book. If they are from Mozambique, are they qualified now to take a look at a book? If they are from Oslo, are they qualified? Yes. If they happen to be from Chennai, are they qualified to take a look? Yes. Absolutely. Yes, they are. Anywhere on this planet, it's good enough for us. Okay, so next thing is a mantra. Mantra moves the world, and the mantra that I most frequently use when I hand over the Bhagavad-gita is telling them in one sentence, as the book is making its arc from my hand into their hand, is books on yoga and meditation that show you how to get free from stress. Look at Jenner, he's writing everything down. Bless his heart. So that's how you get this mantra, and you just repeat it. Books on yoga and meditation. Shows you how to get free from stress. Books on yoga and meditation. Shows you how to get free from stress. Tells what it is, also tells what's in it for them. And on the way to their hand, they're hearing what's in it for them. And as soon as the words stress leaves my mouth, the book enters their hand. Books on yoga and meditation shows you how to get free from stress. See that? The word stress and the hand, it interacts at the same time, intersects. So as soon as the book goes in their hand, now anything can happen from there. So now I have to ask another question. Because questions are a hook. Whoever's asking questions is leading the conversation. So you want to keep leading them to the right conclusion. So the next question I ask them is, you've heard of stress before, right? What's the answer to that question? Yes. Okay, it doesn't matter what the answer is, because either way we can keep moving along. So someone says, yes, I've heard of stress, or someone says, no, I'm not stressed, I don't know what you're talking about. Either way, it's okay. And that's the kind of progression you need, is things that don't matter what they say, yes or no. It works either way. Otherwise, you'll be stopped at some point. So, you've heard of stress before, and they say, yes, I've heard of stress. Of course I'm stressed. And then I say something to bring it to a spiritual level, and I say, really, because you don't look stressed, you look spiritual. Your eyes look very peaceful. Really, you don't look stressed. You look very spiritual and peaceful. Here's the next question. And this question is worth, I don't know, billions of dollars. Are you ready?
Yes.
What's your secret? Everyone say that again. And if you forget everything about this presentation and you fumble around, make sure you ask this question, put this mantra out there, ask people, what's your secret? Because now you've changed the equation, and instead of you being the person who is condescending, you're the condescending preacher, you're trying to change their direction in life. Living entities are smart. They figure that out really quick. It's like, this guy's trying to get me to do something. They want to convert me to their way of life. I want to do what I want to do. He wants me to do something else. And so there's maybe a little resistance, but now I'm asking a question that levels the field, and I say, what's your secret? Now I'm the disciple, he's the guru. I'm no longer condescending, and I'm asking, so what's your secret? And that gives them an opportunity to say that what their secret is in life. People in the mode of goodness will say, I do meditation and yoga. People in the mode of passion say, I work out. And people in the mode of ignorance say, I smoke marijuana or I drink alcohol. And that's why they feel so peaceful and happy. And other people say, I have no idea. Then you can make a suggestion. You must just come from a good family, right? Yes. And some people say, no, I don't. And then you can say, well, you're just a natural then. So you take this progression, and then because of the fact of whatever they just told, because they told you what their secret is, your response is that, oh, you're qualified. I knew you were into this. I knew you were on the level of this book already, and now I'm just going to show you what you already know. And that's when I take the book back from their hand, and I say, now I'm going to show you really quick. And how fast am I going to show them? How fast? How fast are we doing this whole thing? Okay, so really quick, because everyone's thinking, how long is this going to take? Even the most pious people are thinking, like, how fast can I get out of here? And so really quick, and then there's a few things you can show on the Bhagavad-gita. On the back, oh, Krishna. On the back cover, you have Thoreau, Emerson, Gandhi. Everyone say. Then you can add 3 more. Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, and the Beatles. Say all 6. And don't forget the Beatles or you'll be off our team. Okay. Next thing you can open and you can say, see, it was written thousands of years ago in Sanskrit. Can you read this? And they'll say, no. Say, oh, good, I was just testing you. It's all translated into English, and it's been translated hundreds of times because the book is so famous. But out of all the translations, now I'm turning to the first page. This has become the most popular academically. Have you heard of USC? Yes. You've all heard of, you probably all either went there or applied to it. And you've heard of Georgetown University? Yes. You've probably all heard of it or applied to it or went there. And so we point out a couple of the famous schools that have read it. And I said, now here it is in a nutshell. Nutshell means I'm giving a fast presentation, not a Bhagavatam class. And here it is. We all start here. We end up here. We're just passing through. What is this? Changing bodies. Show them changing bodies and say, where are you in all this? And they'll say, oh, I don't know. And I say, no, really, where are you in this? And they'll go, oh, I'm right here. They go, okay, next picture I show them. You know the sage? He's seeing all the cow, elephant. I say, this shows a self-realized person. A self-realized person treats everybody with respect. Treats everyone with what? Respect. Because he or she sees that the Spirit's in everyone's heart, or that God's in everyone's heart. You've heard of karma before, right? Yes. What does it mean to you? Okay, so now say this mantra. What does it mean to you? Where are you in all this? Where are you in all this? Where are you in all this? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? What's your secret? I'm from California. Where are you from? See, these are question. It's all questions. What's your secret? I'm from California. Where are you from? So I'm from Chennai. Where are you from? I'm from Mozambique. Where are you from? So each one of these questions is the link that holds the whole presentation together. You have to keep asking them questions. And now I'm asking, you've heard of karma before, right? That's a question. You've heard of karma before, right? What's it mean to you? Two questions in a row. Question means I am directing the conversation. What does it mean to you? What does karma mean to you? Whoa! I really like the way you put things. Or if it's a group, I really like the way he puts things. If it's a couple, the wife says karma, I mean, we'll go around, I really like the way she puts things. I really like the way he puts things. I really like the way you guys put things. That's amazing. Okay, now you ask me what karma is. What does it mean to you? Well, you know, stuff comes up and down and around and all kinds of stuff. Okay, now you wind up, get ready to wind up in this part, and you go, wow, I really like the way you put things. Okay, ask me again. You know, like there's rabbits and there's grass and there's all this stuff in the world and sunshine and rain and all that. Very good. Okay, then for a little humor, and then I show them this picture. I say, see, what goes around comes around. And then I ask them, what do you do professionally? Say that. This is another question. What do you do professionally? I like saying that. It's better than saying, what kind of work do you do? So what do you do professionally? What do you do professionally? Huh? Software engineer. What kind of software? Medical. Look it. This guy used to be in medical software. What kind of work do you do? What do you do professionally? Same thing? Work at eBay. This guy used to work at eBay. Whatever it is, if you can be more specific, as if, really? What company? I'm with Genentech. This guy used to be with Genentech. This guy used to be a ballet dancer. Whatever it is, it's funny. It's actually funny. And half the people laugh right away, and they say, ha, ha, ha. And the other half say, really? And they say, no, not really, I'm just kidding. And then they go, ha, ha, ha. And right when they're saying, ha, 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 that's when I hand the book back to them. And starting at the beginning, from what I started with, as soon as I hand the book over, the book's going back in their hand, and as the book is making an arc back to their hand, it's just about to hit the hand, say, we don't, as it's hitting the hand, sell it. Do you see the timing? We don't sell it because they're still going, I don't know if I'm going to grab this book or not, because they might be selling, and I say, we don't sell it. Now it's out of my hands, like in a bookstore. We just take a donation. We don't need the money. Everyone do it. The only reason we ask, when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, connects you to the spiritual teachers who have painstakingly passed it down over many generations, and allows you to deeply enter within the knowledge. And so that's when they'll give a donation. And they ask how much they should give. I usually like to say, we try to keep it under 100, but in your case, we're thinking about making an exception. You can say outrageous things once they've decided they'd like to give something, just to help them feel a little bit happier about it. So there's no minimum, but more importantly, there's no maximum. I can give you change if you just have hundreds. These are a few things I'd like to say. I'll give you change if you just have hundreds, so I can break one for you. We try to keep it under 100, but in your case, we might make an exception. And then if they really want to know how much it is, just tell them. It costs us, with shipping, printing, storage, everything costs about $8. Most people give 10. Anything over that is a donation. And accept what people give. And now let me give you the prime directive. That is, leave everyone with a good impression. What is the prime directive? Okay, leave everyone with a good impression. Now, we're out of time, so we're going to leave it at that. Okay, we'll take 10 minutes, but here's what we're going to have to do. This has to be really efficient. We're going to have to stand up and make 2 lines. Wait, before you do it, let's just envision it first, and we'll stand up. Stand up, make 2 lines, and on one side of the line, have 2 lines facing each other, and maybe we'll have 2 lines of 2 facing each other. And on one side of the line, you're holding a Bhagavad-gita as it is. On the other side of the line, you're going to be the recipient. You don't have anything in your hands. And the record that was set for getting up and in line and ready to go was done in Baltimore in 55 seconds with a group the same size as this. So let's see if we can beat that record on 3. 1, 2, 3, go. Organize yourselves. This is teamwork. Go for it. Quick, 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 quick. 2 lines face each other. Somebody take the initiative. Help each other. Teamwork. Somebody pass out the books. 2 lines. That's 30 seconds. Got 25 seconds to go. Don't keep your back to the deities. Adjust the line so don't have backs to the deities. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, congratulations. Now, remember that when you're going out to distribute books, don't hold the book directly in your hand, because you're going to telegraph what's going on. Stand like this. Everyone practice. Do like this. Lean back. Copaline. Copaline. Get the book out of your hand. Right here. If you're like this, you're telegraphing. And if you come up to people like this, you're completely blowing it. Just lean back, or don't even keep the book in your hand or under your arm. Just keep it in your bag or leave it on the table and go out like this. First, you have to make a conscious connection. Then you can go. So keep it like this. Now, the first thing is you're going to do radar. And I'm going to do this presentation one more time, and then you're going to be ready to go. Hi.
Hi.
California, where are you from?
India.
India. I love India. Fantastic. Which part?
South India.
Perfect. I'll show you one too. Books on yoga and meditation shows you how to get free from stress. You've heard of stress before, right?
Yeah, I heard before.
Really, because you don't look stressed at all. Your eyes look very peaceful, like spiritual. What's your secret?
Maybe I meditate.
Meditate. I knew it. I could tell. Here, I'll show you really quick. Thoreau, Emerson, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, the Beatles. They all studied this. And can you read this? You're an American. Just say no.
No.
No. I was just testing you. This has been translated over 500 times. This has become the most popular academic. You've heard of USC?
Yes.
Georgetown University? Oh, fantastic. Here it is in a nutshell. We all start here. We end up here. We're just passing through. Where are you in all this?
Maybe somewhere here.
Very nice. I'm over here. I was here 5 minutes ago. Look at a self-realized person treats everyone with respect because he or she sees that the spirit is in with everyone's heart. You've heard of karma before, right?
Yeah.
What does it mean to you?
What goes on comes around.
Whoa, I really like how you put things. That's beautiful. Here, this is a graphic example of that. And what do you do professionally? See, I'm holding the book. Engineer, what kind of engineer?
Software,
What kind of software?
like computer software,
For what kind of?
C program.
This guy used to do C programming. We don't sell it like in a bookstore. We only take a donation. We don't need the money. The only reason we ask is when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to the previous teachers who have painstakingly passed it on over many generations. It allows you to enter deeply within the knowledge.
Sure, I can make some.
All right, just give whatever you like. We try to keep it under 100, but in your case, we might make an exception.
I don't have cash.
Okay, perfect. We don't take cash. We take MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Carte Blanche, or Diners Club. Yes, thank you. And I'm sliding his card, and then he gives a donation. Now, after the donation, you say, you believe in the power of prayer, right?
Yes.
Great. I'll teach you this prayer from Sanskrit. I take out a mantra card. I hand it to him and say, here, it's a little hard to pronounce, so I'm going to say it once and you can repeat. Are you ready?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. You're a natural. And now I say, and I take prasadam. Everyone has prasadam because there's no earthly reason why not to have prasadam. I hand it to them and I say, this is for being so kind. This is for you. And I give them the prasadam. And if they're very open and they want to know more, I take down their information on a book or my computer and I write it down. Make sure I make notation about how to get back in touch with them. And then last thing, I thank them for taking their valuable time. Thank you very much for taking your valuable time. If there were more people in the world like you, if there were more people in the world like you, the world would be a better place to live. Thank you very much. Okay, are you all ready? Let's give them a hand. Okay. Now, you're on this side. You deliver to that side, and on this side, cooperate. This isn't meant to, throw obstacles and try to throw them off or everything. Just cooperate, and if they don't get it, help them along. Remind them of what the next line is and work together. We're going to do it within 2 minutes. So don't take time and don't do extra explanation. Just do what I said. And if you make a couple mistakes, no problem. And then once we finish over here, and we'll all stop, we're going to switch sides and go the other way, and then we'll move on. Are you ready? Yes. On your mark, get the books out of your hand. Lean back. Let them come to you. Go. take 30 more seconds to finish up. Remember to ask in the chant Hare Krishna. Not yet.
Not yet.
Are you done? Yes. Okay, 10 more seconds. Try to wrap it up. We haven't gone the other way yet. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let's stop where you are and separate a little bit. Any questions? Anything come up? Got it down perfectly?
Looks like you need a little more practice to repeat the lines.
This is, don't worry about making mistakes even when you go out in the field. Make as many mistakes as you like. Don't worry about it if you lose a few people, but you keep doing it over and over again, and after a while you'll become proficient, just like anything else. You've got to practice a lot.
Prabhu, I realized I was only thinking about what I should say next. I was not attentively hearing. So it was more like scripted, I have to say this next. So
It's okay to stick to the script and be a little bit artificial in the beginning, because that's how you learn anything. In the beginning, you're consciously incompetent. And as you practice, then you become consciously competent, and after a while you become unconsciously competent. But you have to go through the stages. Now, I'm not saying this is the only way to distribute a Bhagavad-gita, but I'm giving you one track to ride on so you can get some confidence. Because in the beginning, the main thing that you need is confidence. And you'll find out after you keep doing the repetitions that no matter what you do, even if you completely blow it, there's certain people who are going to buy a book from you anyway. They'll chase you down the block and make you sell the book, even if you refuse. And so you'll start to see that it's not me, it's Krishna, but I have to make at least the best presentation possible. It's not all on you. Yes?
Last time when we were in Sankirtan, I said the same thing. It's a books on yoga and meditation. And then one person came back. We were dancing and singing. Is this yoga? So I didn't know what to say. I said that, okay, it's kind of yoga, wherein you connect with Supreme through singing and dancing. But I didn't know whether that was a right answer or I should have.
That is correct. It's the Supreme Yoga. It was exhibited through singing and dancing. And this is a good point, because when you get these kinds of questions from people and you're not sure what to say, write them down, come and, when you come in classes, when you come into the Association of Devotees, ask about them. And also when you're studying the books, you'll see, Prabhupada will write, this singing and dancing in the chapter about Prakashananda Saraswati. Prakashananda Saraswati and his followers saying to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is not yoga. What are you guys doing dancing all day long? And then Prabhupada explains in the long purport that this is the supreme yoga. This is the essence of the Vedas. There's a conversation between one of the professors at UC Berkeley, and he's Professor Stahl, and he's saying, these devotees chanting and dancing, this is not Vedic. And in a series of letters, which are available in the Science of Self-Realization, Prabhupada goes through and points out, this is Vedic. It's the essence of the Vedas. So by going out and finding these obstacles and having people ask you questions, that's how you actually grow and become a Madhyama Adhikari. There's Kanishna Madhyam, there's Madhyam Madhyam, there's Uttam Madhyam. So you have to move up, and the way you move up is by putting yourself under this pressure of going out and having to teach this to others and come up with the answers. Couple more? Okay, yes?
I think the pictures, the right picture, it took some time for me to open. Like,
So one thing is practice going through the pictures. Because one thing you don't want is a long gap when you're presenting to people. So on your way to the Sankirtan spot, go through and see how fast can you find the pictures. That's part of it, is having the thing together so you're not going, where was that? And the guy goes, I think I got to go. You know, if you take too long. So you want to practice that also. Or the whole thing, you'll notice the whole coordination of it takes a little time.
I think rehearsing it, after Balram finished, I rehearse it in my mind. So that helps, like, to remain, like she said, like sometimes it feels like you're scripting, but rehearsing it twice or thrice in the mind helps.
Don't worry if it's completely scripted, because I've done this many, many times in many places, and even the people who go out for the first time, they've never distributed a book before, and they stick to the script, and I watch them, it's completely scripted. The books just go out. And that's why I'm guaranteeing you now, or your money back from this seminar today, that this will work. It just flat out works. These are mantras. Take the mantras and apply them, and don't worry too much. Just be a robot and present like a robot. You're not people anymore, you're robots, and we're going to release you into the world today to do robot destruction on the spiritual platform. Okay, let's do item number 2. Go the other way. The other person who didn't present, now you present the other way. Try to make a few mistakes. Don't worry about it. Just do the best you can and cooperate and help them out. And we'll take a couple minutes. On your mark. Now stand back. Get the book out of your hand. Abai. Don't hold the book in your hand. Put it behind you. Lean back like this. Abai, lean back. You got a couple lean. Put one foot behind the other. Abai, look at this. Lean back like this. Cool as a cucumber. You don't chase people. You're cool as a cucumber. You stay back. Cool as a cucumber in the icebox. Okay. On 3. 1, 2, 3, go. That's not Angel Junior Maharaj's. His is more ferocious. Yeah. New Vrajadam. Yeah. Hare Krishna. If you're finished, raise your hand. If you're finished, raise your hand. Okay, congratulations. Sit down again really quick. And I'll just take a couple of questions to finish up. Somebody bring the asana, 3 people bring asanas and put them out symmetrically as quickly as possible. And do you have any questions or comments? Go right ahead. Everyone's fully aligned and satisfied? Yes. Give them a microphone. One extra mic, please. Oh, SKP? Microphone.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you for the wonderful demo actually of how we should do it. Sometimes I've noticed that the conversation may not always go as we thought or planned. So sometimes some people takes off in a different direction. For example, in one instance while book distribution, so that one lady actually, she took a completely different direction. She first started telling that, this book criticizes everybody and I don't like it. But then she told her story and I patiently listened. After that she took, but that's a different story. But
okay.
How to handle if the conversation does not
Here's
go
how to
as
handle it.
planned?
First of all, expect the unexpected. I've given you a script. It doesn't always go in the exact same direction, but if you practice it, you'll learn that there's a certain progression, and sometimes you cut it short. Like sometimes I'll hand some of the Bhagavad-gita and go, and I'm just books on yoga and meditation shows how to get free from Bhagavad-gita. I've been looking for this. I say, yeah, give a donation. It just cut to the end, Boom, that's it. You don't have to oversell. You don't have to keep telling them. They already know. Or if somebody says that, they hand them the book and they go, oh, is this organized religion? I don't believe in organized religion. Obviously, you're going to have to answer them. You can't just keep going on with the script, right? So here's the basic principle when it comes to objections. And every once in a while, you may get an objection, which is a good thing because then it keeps you on your toes. So first principle of objections is honor the objection before you answer it. The principle is honor the objection. What is the principle? Honor the objection. Abai, what is the principle? Honor their objection. So it's just like somebody asks a question. So, that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. If somebody gives an objection and they say something like, I don't believe in organized religion, they'd say, oh yeah, I know what you mean. I can really appreciate that. I'd say, this completely rejects all religious principles that are materially motivated. And it propounds the highest truth, which is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Srila Vyasadeva, is sufficient in itself for God realization. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears from the Bhagavatam, it becomes attached to the Supreme Lord within his heart. So just take whatever they have. First accept it. First appreciate it. Don't push back against it. And then if there's somebody who has some criticism or something like that, hear them out a little bit, appreciate what they're saying. In customer service, you might notice this. If you call into a good company like Apple that has good customer service, they'll appreciate what your stress is, and it's like, oh, I know how you feel. That's how I felt. Here's what I found. First, you show empathy, compassion, appreciate it, honor the objection, and then say, yeah, I know. That's how I felt too. This is what I found. And then talk to them about it. Go around the objection. Basic principle, I can't get into all the details of every single objection. There are a finite number of them, however, because there's only 3 modes of material nature, and they mix together in different ways to come up with these different kinds of doubts about the book. Any other thing? Yes. Microphone to the back, please. Back.
Somebody tells that he's not. What is the meaning of that? He's not. 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 He's
if somebody tells that if he's not a Hindu, basically he's a Muslim or a Christian.
Perfect. Yeah, so whatever it is, perfect. Perfect. Okay? So you gave me the book and I go, I'm a Muslim. You say? Yeah. I'm an atheist. Yeah, that's just who we're looking for. That's who, whatever they are, whatever thing they say, designation they hand you, it's like, this is my upadi. This is my particular upadi. This is why I'm not qualified. Perfect. That's your qualification. So sometimes if you hand somebody a book and they go, you say, I'm a Muslim. Take it first. It's like, oh, they look at it, it comes back. Oh, here, sorry, here. All right, here. This one's for you. Allah is within everyone's heart. The purpose of life, develop love for Allah. Nahnu nusayed al-atfal. Tate munfadlik musyad. Allah Akbar. Mabsut. Kifelak. Alhamdulillah. Same thing. If someone says, I'm a Buddhist, I'm an atheist, whatever, perfect, oh great. And if they hand the book back, take it back. Don't force them, don't say, no, take it. If the book starts to come back, you proactively take it and give them the next one. Because their mind won't keep the same book, and you have to take it and replace it. And then replace it with, and so you'll see that people will their mind will click in on the next one. And if it doesn't, go to the next one. And if they absolutely don't take it, then leave them with a good impression. Not everyone has to take a book. Just follow it to its natural conclusion in a gentle way without any force, no resistance at all. Just gentle leading people in the right direction. And if it doesn't come to the conclusion of them taking a book, that's okay too. Our ultimate objective isn't to sell everybody a book, it's to leave everyone with a good impression, it's to make friends with people. And some people happen to also take books, and that's fine. What else? Two more. Yes.
Prabhuji, I was just thinking that can we make cards with all the script and then keep it with us so we don't forget? Like last year, I remember.
We have that.
We have
it.
the cards with us? Oh, okay.
We have the cards.
Okay.
We can give them to you by tomorrow or something. Yeah, we have cards. We have at a glance, all these things at a glance.
And other question I had is recently, about last year I had given a Bhagavatam set to somebody and they were just coming back to me and asking that, their son is reading a lot of the shlokas and he's probably finished the 5th canto. But the one thing that he had not a complaint, but he was just saying that, we go and make sure people give us money. So how do we react to that? Like we want people to give us something back so that they get connected to the thing. When somebody comes back with the question that why are we making sure that they give us money? They're all behind our money. So how do we react to that?
They're asking why we make sure people give them money?
Yes.
Tell them. I just explained it to you and I asked you at the donation to be very straightforward. Say, look, money's just a token of exchange we use in society. And the scripture says that when you take a holy scripture, you have to give something in return in penance. Now, we can ask you to, meditate in the forest in the hot summer with fire around you, or you can give a donation. But the fact is, it's not us. It's the scripture that says you should give something in return. So we're just acting on behalf of the scripture and asking, we don't need the money. The only reason we ask is, when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to the spiritual teachers who have painstakingly passed it on over many generations. And that allows you to enter deeply within the knowledge. So we're doing you a favor. That's what we're doing. People don't get that. They think spiritual means free. Doesn't mean that. Krishna says that the Bhagavad-gita, sacrifice is what connects you to the Supreme. And you can point that out to people who appreciate Gita. Just one more, because we got to go into sets.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, commonly from Indian people, we quickly hear that I have all these books in my home, so I don't need anything. So what's the general advice for that?
Well, generally with Indian people, there's two approaches. One is to, first of all, unpack all their objections before you hand them the book. Say, you have the Bhagavad Gita, you know the Bhagavad Gita, your mom knows the Bhagavad Gita, and you know everything. And that's why I'm showing you this book. Those are the main objections. And then you pass them on, put the book in their hand, and you tell them, this particular Bhagavad Gita comes through the Parampara. We have Madhvacharya, we have Vyasadeva, all the commentaries are here. And because we were asked to give them to the most intelligent, scholarly people, I just picked you out because, you know the Bhagavad Gita, your mom knows the Bhagavad Gita, and you know everything, therefore you'll appreciate this. So then, like that, that's one approach, to explicate, the benefits of this particular Bhagavad Gita over all the other Bhagavad Gitas they may have, and just say it's fine to add it to the collection. Most scholarly people have at least 7 editions of the Gita as a national average. I just made that up. Huh? What? The question and the answer? The question was, we already have Bhagavad Gita, we already know Bhagavad Gita, and I know everything. So then you just unpack that before you hand it to them. Yeah, you already know the Bhagavad Gita. You already have the Bhagavad Gita. Your mom knows the Bhagavad Gita, and you know everything. And that's why I'm showing you this particular Bhagavad Gita, because you know everything. And because you've read the Bhagavad Gita, because you have the Bhagavad Gita, because your mom reads the Bhagavad Gita, that's why I'm showing you. And then explain what are the specific benefits of this Gita, and why we've been asked to find the most intelligent people who already know Bhagavad Gita, who already know everything, to give this particular Bhagavad Gita. Or the other way that I do quite commonly, devotees have seen me go door to door. When I meet an Indian at the door, I don't hand them anything. I just stand there and talk to them. They say, oh, what do you do? Oh, fantastic. And which part of India are you from? This and that. And then I explain. I say, what we're doing, and I don't hand them anything. I say, what we're doing is we're spreading the teachings of Bhagavad Gita all over Silicon Valley. We're setting up schools, reading groups, and we're printing these books. Still won't hand them anything. I'm not handing it to them. We're printing these books, which you already know about, which you've already read, because you know everything, and your mom's read this. And all we're doing is asking for money. That's what I said. All we're doing is, please repeat, asking for money. So we just ask for a donation. And they're fine with that. They're fine with this. So, oh, if that's all it is, sure, I'll go get checkbook. Sita, get my checkbook. And then, how much should I give? The more you give, it's up to you. There's no minimum, there's no max. But more importantly, there's no maximum. And then they sign the check and they hand it over. Then I pull out the books. And I hand over all the books. I say, this one, this one, this one. And then all the pressure's gone from them, because what insults them is, you're not going to sell me the book that my grandmother read to me. There's no way. There's no way. But if you just ask for money, every Indian knows, because they're pious. Beneath the surface, they're the most pious people on earth. And they just know you give money to God and you're doing the right thing. And we're doing the right thing. And just tell them what you're doing and then ask for money. And then that's good.
Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, hey! Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman, Nachariyar Marman.